So I've been going out kayak fishing quite a lot lately. I try to get out about twice a week, and basically one of the things that involves is putting the kayak on top of the old Suzuki here. And to do that, so far all I've done is get some the basic pool noodle high density foam, and I cut one in half and essentially support it close to the back of the car, put the kayak on it and just strap the kayak down through the car, and that has worked surprisingly well so far. It's got a few little negatives, like you kind of look a bit stupid, and also if there's any kind of wind, these things are a pain because they just blow away, and you kind of have to put the kayak on and then try and fit them underneath, which is a bit of a pain. So one of the things that I thought might work fairly well is to kind of glue some magnets into the bottom of this, which would essentially just hold this in place. But then the other option I thought is I'll maybe just have a look at what would be involved in getting some roof racks for the car. So I obviously did the usual thing, looked online, and as you might expect, found that roof racks cost about the same amount as the car is worth, so I wasn't really going to go that way. And then the next option really was looking at making some roof racks myself. So jump on top of the car here. Car roofs are pretty simple. Anything in here is relatively unsupported, and you can see quite bendy, so not really any good for supporting anything. Closer towards the front and rear edge is very strong, but also don't really want to be supporting too much in the middle of the roof. Really the strongest part of the roof is this bit here around the seam where the roof meets the side. I have on occasion stood on the roof with one foot on this side and one foot over there on the other side while trying to get cell phone reception on some of the farms that I go hunting. And so I figured, well, any kind of roof rack system really has to put its weight on this side of the roof, or on the two sides of the roof. And then I noticed, luckily for me with this particular car, is you've got these channels, these rain gutters that are very strong. They're nice and flat. They run the length of the car pretty much straight. And if you look in here, they've got a little bit of a rubber wing on there. But if you trim the wing out, then this perfectly fits a bit of 19mm aluminium square tubing, which is just fantastic. So I made these two cutouts on both sides, just trimmed off this wing off the little plastic thing, which wasn't really doing anything anyway. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So the idea basically is going to be get some square tube aluminium, stack it up here, and run a bigger bit of aluminium across the top. And the idea is that they won't actually be bolted down to the roof. They'll just be carried in the back of the car. And when I want to load the kayak, I just put the two roof racks in place, put the kayak on top, and strap the whole lot down, which should work fairly well. So let's head inside and have a look at the aluminium bits and how to assemble all of that using some basic hand tools only and fairly cheap parts. So any of the local hardware stores here in New Zealand sell a few different sizes of aluminium square tube. The smaller stuff here is 19mm, which is 3/4 inch, and the bigger stuff is 25mm, which is 1 inch. And the basic idea is to cut the 3/4 inch into a length probably about that long, with a couple of smaller bits on top stacked, so that you can get the big bar to cross over the roof with enough space so that it doesn't touch or rub on the roof. You can also, over the big bar, of course, put some tape or heat shrink, or even an old bicycle inner tube or something, to make sure that even if it touches the roof, it's not going to tend to rub the paint off, if you're concerned by that. So that's the basic stuff. The material cost about $40, and then I've also just bought for 50mm or 2 inch long M6 nuts, washers, and nylock nuts, all in 316 stainless. The only thing to keep in mind is generally if you have stainless touching aluminium, especially in a kind of a salty environment like the salt water that might come off the kayak when I'm loading it, is you can get galvanic corrosion, but in general I'm going to be not that concerned about that at the moment. So let's have a quick look at the bits all cut up, ready to make the first roof rack. Okay, so here we have the bits all basically prepared to make up the first roof rack. So I've got the long bit, which I've made 180 millimeters, 180 millimeters long, which is probably around 8 inches or so. A little bit less, about about 7 inches, with 6.5 millimeter hole drilled on one side, and the other side I've opened up big enough to allow the head of the bolt to go through. So in the end this will be the bit that sits down on the car, and I've got two bits of 2 inches or 50 millimeters that have a 6.5 millimeter hole on both sides, and I've got the 1 meter long 25 millimeter bit of aluminium that's just got one 6.5 millimeter hole on one side. So the obvious idea at this point is going to be take one of my nut and bolt combinations. See, so the washer doesn't go through, so I'll have to unfortunately fit the washer through from the inside. The washer is basically just there to spread the load of the bolt head over a little bit bigger area. Oops, there it comes, just like that. So spread the load of the bolt head over a bit bigger area so that you can kind of tighten it down without causing any damage. One piece, two pieces, and then the next step is, see if I can do this on camera, is it's going to stick through the end there. I'm just using a pen down the bottom to hold the bolt in place. Get a finger on there. So washer and nut. And before I tighten this down, I am just going to assemble the other side as well, and then I'll just go fit it on the car, and we'll have a look at the fitment before it all gets tightened down. It should, if I've done all my calculations correctly, this should fit fairly well, but we'll just have a look outside. Okay, skipping forward in time a bit here, as you can see I've finished the front and rear roof racks, and I've just loaded the kayak up to have a bit of a test, and you can see that the roof racks are carrying the weight of the kayak very nicely, not really bending through at all. I don't think even if I were to pull it down with a tie down strap, it's not really going to do much. So the aluminium seems to be up to the job. One of the things that I've done here is I've put some clear heat shrink tubing around the top aluminium piece and also around the legs of the bottom piece. The reason for that being that aluminium oxide can give off kind of a black rubbing mark, so I was a little bit worried that if I dragged the kayak across it I would end up with big black marks. So for the price of some heat shrink over the top, it's not too bad. Then also worth noting is if you're looking at this particular car, or really any car, make sure you measure the front and the rear. The front of this ended up being about 4 centimeters or almost 2 inches wider than the rear, which meant that I actually had to buy another piece of 2 meters of 25mm tubing, but that just means I've got a few offcuts sitting in the workshop, so no big deal. Also the rear is pretty parallel, but the front is actually slightly twisted, and so that meant that the easiest way to actually get this right was to do the final assembly, so tightening down of the nut on the actual car, so I know that it's going to fit perfectly. So all I did was shove the screwdriver into the end to lock the bolt of the lock the head of the hex bolt in place, and then I just used a ring spanner to tighten up that side, and also marked B for passenger and D for driver on the other side. But yeah, pretty successful all up, seems to work quite well, so I look forward to giving it a proper try.